With the turn of a crank, workers from the Lake Oswego Corporation open a valve at their dam on McVeigh Avenue, launching drawdown of the lake and a new phase of the project. Connecting the interceptor cannot begin until the lake level is lowered 24 feet. But to get that done in just 30 days, the contractor needs reinforcements.
They call it the Death Star because of its size and its overwhelming capacity, and in the office we call it the Death Star because of the expense.
The Death Star is a mammoth floating pump station. At full capacity, it can accelerate drawdown by pulling nearly 90,000 gallons a minute over the dam and out to the Willamette River.
Water level is dropping basically at the rate of about a foot per day.
As flows reach their peak, 3 miles of old, deteriorating lines that will join to the interceptor are being renewed. They still have capacity, and a clever upgrade saves the city big dollars.
It's a means of rehabilitating a pipe without digging.
A high-tech tube sock, 3 feet in diameter, and in this case 500 feet long, restores the integrity of worn pipe.
And that tube is actually inverted, almost like a sock would be, into the pipe and expanded up against the pipe under pressure. The way they're doing that today is the use of water.
Once pulled through the pipe and chemically activated with hot water, its resin-coated surface cures to structural hardness.
What we want to eventually have happen is that exterior coating becomes the inside of the pipe.
But inverting a giant tube sock is not a one-person job.
In this case, we had 3 pretty big, burly construction guys jumping up and down on the pipe, and that's what it took to get the liner started.
Back on the lake, time-lapse photography captures 3 weeks of continuous pumping. The first area to go dry is the swim park, where the dock becomes a walkway on stilts. Lakewood Bay, too, is transformed as water levels continue to drop. And in the main portion of the lake, bleached stumps of trees from long ago make their appearance, scattered across a muddy plain. These are the lowest levels in half a century. As 2 billion gallons of water are removed, the new interceptor from the air is revealed as a giant serpent in what remains of the lake. Around it lies a brown, soggy basin. What looks like solid ground, most assuredly, is not.
Very few places on the lake bottom that you can walk. If you can't get there, you can't get the work done. And I'm sure at the first part of the job, it's going to appear that there's not a lot of work going on just because we're getting our way to those areas.
Access to a dangerously soft lake bottom requires 36,000 tons of crushed rock and a month of road building. A big bite from a tight schedule.
That's the end of September, and we've got until January 15th to get a large portion of the work in the lake done here before we start refilling the lake. We're working 6 days a week out here, and sometimes it's going to be 7.
And then there's the wild card.
Probably couldn't be a worse time to be working on the bottom of the lake than in a La Nina year. We're certainly hoping that the meteorologists are incorrect on that, but we are definitely preparing for the worst.
Engineers have designed the floating pump station to protect against a sudden rise in water levels. Only an overwhelming weather event, beyond a 1 in 10-year storm, would cause work to halt.
At that point, there would be no way to control the water coming in, and we would have to abandon ship, move all of the equipment off the bottom of the lake. That's not going to happen.
As roads and staging areas are completed, crews prepare the pile system. Steel supports placed during lake full are welded to precise elevations, then capped with cradles to hold the interceptor.
You're seeing very massive structures, but very delicate pieces and parts being connected.
After they're bypassed with temporary pumps and lines, old manholes must also be demolished and replaced with robust new ones. Manhole 22 in Lakewood Bay begins with a foundation 5 feet deep. Precast concrete parts run 8 feet in diameter with 16-inch walls. Moved into place and assembled in less than a month, it stands 2 stories tall. Manhole 22 is one of the largest in the system, and because of its location at the lake's lowest point, it's a critical milestone.
That's where this in-lake project ends. Assuming you had a clean pipe and a big marble, you could roll that all the way down to manhole 22 and beyond.
Once joined to nearby manhole H, the interceptor transitions to buoyant pipe, then snakes at a gentle incline across the lake.
Basically, we've got over 10,000 feet of pipe that's connected from the east end of the lake clear to the west end of the lake. There's so many moving parts to this entire lake down phase. Multiple sites, multiple crews, all choreographed to make sure that the work gets completed efficiently, but also in proper sequence.
This will be the first area water reaches during the start of refilling, only weeks away.
I got a feeling that the water will be chasing us as we're heading out of the bay.
Coming up, the Interceptor project on its final stretch.